Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a concept we literally hear about every single day on the news, at work, around the dinner table. We're talking about the economy. Now, it usually sounds like this massive, abstract, almost intimidating idea, right? But it really doesn't have to be. We're going to break it down into its core actors and the grand stage they perform on. Think of it like getting to know the cast of characters in the absolute greatest, most complex play on Earth.
I want to start us off with a really foundational quote from economist A.J. Brown. He defined the economy simply as a system by which people get a living. And I just love this because it grounds all that heavy academic jargon right back in reality. The economy isn't just a bunch of numbers flashing on a screen. It's the actual system providing us with the goods and services that satisfy our daily wants. It's the engine that helps us survive and thrive. Because let's be honest, without the vital processes of production, consumption, and exchange, we just wouldn't have a functioning society. So, here's our playbill for today's explainer. First, a quick welcome to the economy. Then we'll map out the three working sectors. After that, we'll meet our main characters, the consumers driving demand, the producers fueling supply, and finally, the government's guiding hand.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Welcome to the Economy. So, every single actor we're going to talk about today falls under the umbrella of an economic entity. Now, what's genuinely fascinating about this definition is just how wide that umbrella is. An economic entity is defined as any institutional unit capable of doing economic activities completely independently. That means they can acquire assets, take on liabilities, and transact with others. And there are millions of these entities out there making the economy tick. We aren't just talking about massive multinational corporations here. When you buy your morning coffee, you are acting as an economic entity, just as much as a giant tech firm or the government itself.
Moving on to Section 2, the three working sectors.
Before we officially meet the cast, we need to understand the environments they operate in. There are three main sectors that build a complete economic life cycle. First is the primary sector, which is all about directly exploiting natural resources. Think agriculture, forestry, mining. When a farmer grows wheat, they're working squarely in the primary sector. But, we don't usually just eat raw wheat, right? So it moves to the secondary sector, also known as manufacturing. This is where that raw material gets transformed. A baker takes that wheat, makes flour, and bakes bread. Finally, we have the tertiary or service sector. Now, this sector doesn't produce physical stuff. It provides support. That bread needs to be trucked to shops, the bakery needs a bank loan to run, and those delivery trucks need insurance. Transport, banking, communication, all of these are the vital tertiary sector tying the whole shebang together. Which brings us to Section 3. Consumers, the demand engine. Enter our very first main character, the consumer. And this is exactly where you and I fit into this vast ecosystem. Consumers are the people, or groups purchasing goods and services to satisfy their wants. But what it means to be a consumer has totally evolved over time. Historically, we had what you'd call direct consumers. These were early folks who produced things purely for themselves. The food they grew, the huts they built, it was 100% self-consumption. Eventually, that shifted to barter systems. But today, we are the modern consumer. Modern producers put goods out in the market, and we, as modern consumers, use money to hunt down the absolute best bargains. So why do consumers matter so much? Well, frankly, we drive the entire engine. Consumers are the biggest source of demand in any economy. And the higher the demand, the more goods get produced. Plus, we force producers to get creative and diversify. Because we all have totally different tastes. Some folks want a sleek red scooter, others need a heavy-duty motorbike, some want butter, others want ice cream. Producers have to diversify their designs just to catch our eye. And it's not just physical stuff. Consumers create massive, ongoing demand for the service sector, like healthcare, education, and banking. As we grow, those services have to grow right alongside us. Section 4. Producers, the supply engine. Now let's meet the counterweights to our consumers, the producers. These are the entities combining land, labor, and capital to create goods and services, usually with the goal of turning a profit. And it's an incredibly broad category. On one end of the spectrum, you've got a primary producer, like a farmer cultivating a field, working hands-on with nature. On the other end, you've got a tertiary producer, like a doctor examining a patient, delivering a highly specialized critical service. Both are absolutely producers. Whether you're baking biscuits, coding software, or running an entire airline, you're playing the role of a producer. Look, without producers, there's literally no production. It's that simple. First off, they actually supply the goods and services that we consumers are demanding. Second, they figure out how to efficiently utilize economic resources. A good producer takes raw materials, land, and labor and finds a way to use them without wasting them. Third, and this is a huge one for everyday people, they create jobs. As producers scale up, they generate income and employment for a massive number of people. And finally, they can actually boost a country's wealth by producing exportable items, bringing in foreign earnings, and strengthening the whole national economy.
And lastly, Section 5, the government's guiding hand. So what happens when consumer demands and producer profits clash, or when the market just doesn't quite work out for everyone? Enter our final character, the government. They act as the overarching authority, trying to keep the system from toppling over. And they step in with both direct and indirect roles. Looking at direct roles, the government often builds major infrastructure, things like highways, dams, power grids. Private companies usually find those projects way too risky or not profitable enough in the short term. The government might also step in to address income and wealth inequalities. In a free market, that gap can widen pretty quickly, so governments often implement progressive tax systems or offer social security setups like unemployment benefits. They also directly push agricultural and industrial development, and most fundamentally, they maintain the basic law and order you absolutely need for any safe economic activity to happen at all.
But the government isn't just about building roads or collecting taxes. They've got these massive indirect levers they can pull, mostly through policy. Think of them as 4 distinct dials. First, monetary policy. Usually through a central bank, they control the actual supply of money and credit. Too much cash floating around, you get inflation. Too little, deflation. Second is fiscal policy. They tweak their own revenue and spending to balance out situations where the market has either way too much or way too little demand. Third, foreign trade policy. They manage this to keep exports and imports in check, making sure the country doesn't bleed out all its foreign exchange. And fourth, price policies. They use these to keep things stable, trying to prevent wild price swings that could bankrupt producers or completely starve out consumers.
All right, so we've met the whole cast. We've got the consumers driving the demand, the producers supplying the goods and creating the jobs, and the government maintaining the balance and building the stage itself. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. Between the constantly shifting demands of consumers, the profit-driven goals of producers, and the heavy regulatory rules of the government, who truly holds the most power in our economy? It's a fascinating, delicate balancing act, and just recognizing these basic players is your first major step in decoding the world around you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how your economy actually works.